Hello everyone and welcome back to some Marvel Crisis Protocol. It's been a little bit, but here we are with a 20 threat match between the new additions to the Asgardians versus Mephisto and his Legion of the Lost for the second time on camera, I believe. So let's just get on with it and go look at both sides. Both sides are going deep rather than wide. So let's start with Asgard, 4 models, 20 threat, and there's actually 2 potential leaders here because Loki 2 and Mighty Thor both have affiliation bonuses for Asgard. The one being used will be Mighty Thor's, which is if you're attacking someone within range 2 you get a reroll once, and if you're getting attacked by someone within range 2 you get a reroll on your defense once. And those 2 are being joined by Lady Sif and Thor 2, aka the most OP model. His card has been nerfed digitally, but the new card pack isn't out yet, so we're just using the card provided. So yeah, he's going to be quite strong still, and yeah, very worthy of being called Thor. Their tactics cards are Heart of the Worthy, Giant's Blood for a limited time only, Rainbow Bridge, and Freya's Blessing. Freya, I can't remember how to pronounce his mother's name, but her blessing. And over on the other side, Mephisto is here, and this is the Legion of the Lost via one of the tactics cards are bringing Devil's Reckoning. But he is being joined by Gladiator, by Urik, whatever it's called, the Rock Troll, and the Wrecking Crew. So a very mismatched bundle here, but hey, they're all working for the devil. So let's see how that works out. And their tactics cards, which are slightly reflective. There we go. Devil's Reckoning, which as I say is the one that gives the affiliation bonus, so people will be getting set on fire and given extra power, and along with that, Brand New Day, Up the Ante, Mystic Menace, and Stronger Together. And the 2 crisis cards being played today are 2 that came with Gladiator, but really they are just variants on existing ones, to be fair. Wedding Party, Targeted in Terrible Attack. It's essentially the Mayor Fisk Witnesses one. There's 2 VIP tokens on the table, as denoted. During the cleanup phase, each of the VPs attempts to flee, starting with the player with priority. Each player places all VPs secured by their opponent within 2 of their current position, and it can be placed once per round, and then when you do, everyone around them loses 1 power. No stun though, just power. And you score 2 VP for each one you are securing in the cleanup phase prior to them running away. Then Terrigen Canisters fuel Doomsday Device. There's 5 Terrigen Canisters on the table. You score 1 VP for each one you control that's in the cleanup phase. You pay 1 to pick it up. You can only hold 1 at a time, so that means no side will be able to control all of them because each side has only 4 models. When a character picks up a canister, you roll dice equal to your physical defense. If the result did not contain 1 crit or wild, the character gains poison, and while you're holding a canister you can only move small. And with that we can quickly just pan up a little bit and see the layout. So the 2 VIP tokens are there, and then we have 2 Terrigen Canisters, 2 Terrigen Canisters, and 1 smack dab in the middle of the table. So we'll get both sides set up fully, be ready to start after this quick word from my channel sponsor. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. And with that, we are all set up and good to go. These Guardians to the left of your screen are going first in Battle Round 1. You can just about see where all of them are. Thor 2 closest to camera, Loki 2 right next to him. Mighty Thor is partially behind that building. She can fly, so it's not going to hinder her at all. And just out of line of sight to the top left of the screen is where Lady Sif has been deployed. On the right side, Mephisto and Urik are to the bottom right there, and then out of line of sight because of that red building to the top right of the camera is where Gladiator and Wrecking Crew are deployed. With that, we are ready to go, so let's jump into Battle Round 1 and see how this all plays out. It was Lady Sif who got the game started, just moving medium once, paying 1 of her 2 power. Everybody started with 2 power, I think, on both sides, to pick up the closest Terrigen gas container. She rolled both a wild and a crit, so no poison, but then she was limited to just small movement after that, so she positioned herself just within range 1 of the VIP wedding guest at that end of the table, just to be a nuisance. Gladiator was the first to activate for the Legion of the Lost, moved up medium, and then used his Praetor Punch, which is actually range 3, so it was able to reach Sif from where she ended her turn. Didn't do super great considering it was 6 dice physical versus 4 defense dice. 1 damage got through. That was enough though that he generated a confidence token. If you need a reminder how Gladiator works, for every Praetor punch he lands that does damage, he gains confidence for every instance of damage he takes he loses confidence, and those confidence tokens up to a maximum of 6, I think. Lets him roll extra dice on any of his attacks, so he can get super scary if you ignore him. He then paid the power he generated from doing that attack to pick up the Terrigen canister next to him. Unfortunately for him, he managed to poison himself. He is not immune to it. Mighty Thor, Jane Foster activated and essentially just did 2 medium moves to get over this building, and round next to the dumpster you can see her at, paid one of her 2 starting power to pick up the Terrigen container in the centre of the table, so that's gone now, and did not roll any, or rather did roll a crit or a wild, so no poison. Ulik the Rock Troll activated for the Legions of the Lost, moved medium to the far end of the closest Terrigen container, but still within 1 of it, paid 1 power, picked it up, and the Legion of the Lost are not doing so great on the rolls to avoid getting poisoned, so Ulik was poisoned. He then moved more than enough within the small range limited by holding that container to the centre to contest that VIP there. Random note, but everyone on the table is 4 physical defence except Mephisto. He's the only person who is 3. Over the bottom left end of the table, Loki 2 activated. The Prince of Lies is his actual title, but everyone just calls him Loki 2 because it's the second version of him. He immediately spent 2 power, everything he started with. On go forth, he picks an ally within 4 and places them within 2. So he has moved Thor 2 forwards, right next to that Terrigen container there. And then he just moved, and he moves long. He is quick, and he positioned himself just within range 1 of the VIP wedding guest that Ulik is contesting. So now it's a draw at that one. At the upper end of the table, coming out of the shadows from down here in the alleyway, I guess, the Wrecking Crew activated. They only move small, but they are on that gigantic base, so more than enough to get within contesting range of the VIP guest at this end of the table, also kind of cutting off Lady Sif from assistance and contesting it, so nobody is holding that one, and that's unlikely to change. It's over to Thor 2 now as the final activation of round 1 for the Asgardians, and then the Devil himself to take us to the end proper. Now, Thor 2 reminding everybody why he's very scary. First of all, he paid 1 of his 2 power to pick up the Terrigen gas. He did not get poisoned from it. He moved medium as his first actual action, getting within range 1 of that VIP guest, and then just did his basic attack, which for Thor 2 is 7 dice. Odinson's Ire is what it's called. Now, he rolled a fantastic number of crits and hits, but didn't roll a single wild, which is kind of bad for him because he needs that to proc a shock and a push, which would have been very useful. But still, even after Ulik's pretty okay defense, he took 5 damage, reduced down to 4 because of his rock hide, or troll hide, whatever it's called, his damage reduction rule. But that's still 4 damage to him, so good start. Anyway, over to the Devil. Well, we were partway activating Mephisto. In fact, you might notice that he's already moved forwards, but Thor 2 was not done yet. Forgot that his ridiculously strong builder is indeed a builder, so he got power equal to damage dealt. It wasn't even just a flat 1. I was remembering it as a flat 1 power generation, but no, that's no wonder he's so powerful. It is equal to damage dealt, so he had 4 more power to play with. So he spent 3 of that on Have At Thee, and he chucked himself, via his hammer throw I guess, at Ulik's face, and he's size 3, so that's 4 damage, and Ulik whiffed his defense roll entirely. 4 damage reduced down to 3, but that's precisely enough on top of the 4 he already took that he is dazed, which is Thor 2. Yeah, I can't remember the specific nerfs he's getting. I don't think his basic attack is one of them, but either way. Yeah, so Ulik is dazed. He's going to be dropping that canister he's holding, but Thor can't pick it up because he's already holding 1. You can only hold 1. Mephisto's turn is still going to carry on, but yeah. Back to Mephisto's turn. He was moving up small, which is what he's still doing. He can't out-contest this VIP this turn, so he's abandoned that for now, and instead used a Hellfire Lash, which is his basic attack, range 3. He wanted to do the one that generates himself more devil tokens, but that's range 2, so he couldn't reach. So Hellfire Lash, range 3, 6 dice energy, into Thor, who has 4 energy defense. Actually managed to do pretty well against some. Thor's defense roll was a bit bad, and he couldn't get a reroll from the affiliation bonus since Mephisto's out of range 2. So he took 3 damage and has been incinerated. So that will certainly even things up more in the next round. But with Ulik going down pretty easy, he was one of the heavy hitters meant to help stop Thor 2. I guess he still can if they get first activation in round 2. But anyway, let's go to the scoring for round 1. So at the end of round 1, the VIP at the top of the table is scored by no one, so it stays still, then everybody within range 2 loses 1 power, so Sif and the Wrecking Crew. Down at the bottom it was moved ever so slightly by the Legions of the Lost just to guarantee it hit just Thor and Loki. So, well, Loki had no power, but Thor has lost 1 power from that. And then we go to the actual scoring. So, Thor and Loki were scoring that VIP at the bottom, and it's still true that they are, so that's 2 victory points for that. And they hold 3 of the Terrigen gas containers, 1 on Mighty Thor, 1 on Thor, and 1 on Sif. So they're up to 5 after round 1, which is pretty impressive. The Legion of the Lost, thanks to Ulik going down and dropping the canister he was holding, and them not claiming any of the VIP guests, the only score they're getting is the gas container that Gladiator picked up. So they're on the board for 1. So as we go into round 2, 5 plays 1. They've got a little bit of catching up to do. So as we begin round 2, we have to cover the Legion of the Lost's affiliation bonus stuff. It actually happens in the cleanup phase, but we'll just cover it now. 2 allies gain 1 power, that was Ulik and the Wrecking Crew. 1 enemy is incinerated and given 1 power, that was Loki. So that's all been handled. And then also in the power phase, Freyja's Blessing. Freyja's, I don't remember how to say his mother's name. She's dead, who cares. It got used in the power phase. Any allied Asgard character can spend 3. Thor has done this, as in Thor Odinson. This character may reroll any number of its defense dice this round. He's down a defense die because he's incinerated. He's going to get picked on, and that's especially true because the Legion of the Lost are taking first activation this time, so he's going to have an angry rock troll in his face in a second, I'm sure. So having that reroll on his defense dice this turn, even with 1 die less, will hopefully help keep him alive a bit longer. Oh wow, a lot happened there. Ulik activated, of course, he was sitting on 10 power, and he immediately spent 5 of that on Shatter Mountains, Shatter Bones, range 2, 9 dice physical, and he does stagger automatically, and he has the ability to also give an activate token if he rolls a wild, a crit, a hit, and a skull. His first attack into Thor only ended up doing 2 damage, but as I say, it does a stagger automatically, after which point Loki did something, but we'll cover that at the end. Then, since he had 10 power, and it isn't limited to once per turn, he did a second Shatter Mountains, Shatter Bones. So another 9 dice physical right into Thor's face. This time, he did much better. He did 4 damage, and he would have converted that stagger into an activated token, but it doesn't matter because he actually did precisely enough to daze Thor 2. So Thor has dropped his Terrigen canister. Ulik has no power to pick it up, so that's why it's been dropped over by Mephisto. And you might notice that he has 2 instances of 1 damage on him. That's because after each attack against his brother was resolved, Loki was spending 1 power each time on, oh my, what a pity. Which is, if he gets attacked or an ally within 3, or if he finishes attacking someone, he can pay for that power, and if the roll, their roll rather, contained at least 1 skull, he does 1 damage to them. And I don't think it's limited to once per round. Nope. So yeah, that is 2 damage to Ulik. So he managed to take down Thor for the round at least, getting through that 9 health, despite the blessing being on him as well. But he's taken 2 of his 7, so he is closer to his demise. Well, it turns out this version of Loki is no slouch. First time seeing this Prince of Lies version of Loki. First of all, he had 1 power. He paid it to pick up the Terrigen container. Once again, did a stellar job of avoiding getting poisoned. Then he just did his basic attack, which is Mischief and Magics. It's a 6 dice mystic attack, range 3, and if you get a crit and a wild, I think, you can advance the person you're hitting. That won't come up. So he did 1 into Ulik, had 5 damage. Oh no, so much like Wanda, he counts skulls in his roll as successes. He doesn't count enemy ones though. He got 5, reduced down to 4 damage, which was already, no sorry, it was 4 down to 3 rather. Already really good, left Ulik on basically nothing, so he just did the same again, got the same damage through, and that is Ulik off the board. So yes, he took down Thor 2, but at what cost? Well, I guess we can quantify it exactly. 25% of their firepower was the cost to take Thor down. Was it worth it? Guess we'll see. Out for a nice stroll in the streets of New York, Mephisto activated, paid 1 power, picked up the Terrigen canister that Thor dropped that was placed next to him. It would have poisoned him. He is immune to poison. He moved to contest this VIP against Loki, and then engaged with the God of Tricks with an Infernal Bargain, which is range 2, 6 dice mystic, Loki normally has 5, Mystic Defense down to 4. Doesn't matter though, it's one of those attacks where regardless of how much damage it would do, it deals just a single point of damage. But the upside to it is it gives Mephisto another Devil Deal token. He starts the game with 1, so that's him up to 2. A bit of a contentious issue, or rather a contentious decision, was made next for the Asgardians activation. Lady Sif activated, and she's only moving short/small because of holding that canister, and she opted to run away. She just moved small twice, away from Gladiator, and away from the Wrecking Crew, and away from the VIP token, essentially deciding that if they can control the bottom of the board, that first round swing put them ahead enough that they can afford to let the fight come to them. Gladiator was having none of that. He spent every drop of power he had, which was 3, on for Empress and Empire. It's his equivalent of a charge. So he does a move and then he has to do a Praetor punch. He did it into Sif and Sif took nothing. His attack roll was appallingly bad. So bad luck there. He then just followed up with another Praetor punch. His attack roll, to be honest, again was pretty terrible, but this time 1 bit of damage managed to get through. Obviously not super threatening, but that means he gains another confidence token. And he was rolling 7 dice already, normally 6, up to 7 because of the confidence token he had. So now he'd be rolling 8 for his basic attack. So he becomes more scary the longer you ignore him. The Asgardians are clearly committed to this plan. Mighty Thor Jane Foster activated, last activation of the round for them since Thor didn't get around. And she did a short move followed by spending all of her power, all 3 of it, for Midgard, which is her version of a charge. So she did another short move, but then she's allowed to do an attack. She did her basic attack. She also gets 2 free rerolls because of that for Midgard, and she has a reroll from her affiliation bonus because she was attacking Mephisto within range 2. And boy oh boy did she stomp him. Managed to get him for 5 damage. There's no one close enough for Mephisto to pass it off with Meet My Associate, so he just had to take that 5. He is still on his feet, but it hurt him a lot. He's got 2 health left, I believe. Before we move on to the Wrecking Crew, just a note, if she'd positioned herself ever so slightly better or was on the same size base as Thor, she would have then been able to pick up that dumpster and chuck it at Mephisto to potentially daze him, but she's just out of range to pick it up. From where the Wrecking Crew was, they want to just hold that VIP so they can get more points. Sif was still in their threat range, just barely in range 3, so their indestructible reached, as did their magic crowbar. So across 2 attacks, the first one did 2, and then the second, oh actually doesn't she have damage reduction? She does, so it would only have done 1, but even with that, let's see if it matters, because then the second would have done 3, 5, 6, yep, still enough that she would be dazed. So what happened still happens. A little bit of a deal with the devil got offered because she's also just barely within range 3 of Mephisto. So brand new day got played, so one choice must be made. Either Sif isn't dazed, lives on 1 health and loses her activate token, so she gets to activate again, but also Mephisto gains 2 devil deal tokens and also gets to go again this round, or Mephisto is fully healed and gains 3 power. Both of these are not great options. The first is being chosen because 1 must be selected. So Sif is living on 1 health. She is getting another turn this round, but so is the devil. Lady Sif had 1 goal to do with the new beginning she was given, and that was try and take out Mephisto so he doesn't get to activate again. She moved, and then she spent for her charge, and then off of her charge she also spent on Warrior Forged, which is her big spender. Her charge doesn't specify you have to use her basic attack. So that was 7 dice physical into Mephisto's back, with the potential backup of Loki also dealing 1 damage if 1 skull was rolled in his defense roll. It was, as it turns out, but it was not required. She did 3 damage, which was enough to daze the devil. Again, no one close enough for him to pass the wounds off onto. So he will not be getting another activation because he was dazed, and that takes us to the scoring for round 2. So then around 2, the Legion of the Lost Affiliation bonus, Sif is set on fire, and Gladiator and, I can't remember, Wrecking Crew, it was, gained 1 extra power. Scoring wise, the Asgardians hold 1 of the VIPs, it drained 1 power from Loki because he's the one holding it, and that scored them 2, and then 3 of them have Terrigen canisters, everyone who's conscious, so not Thor, so that takes them all the way up to 10 victory points. For the Legion of the Lost, they have 1 Terrigen canister on Gladiator, and, oh you know what, I just realised, he has a canister and I think he moved his full medium rather than small when he did his charge, maybe. Don't quite remember where he was before that, but that might have been a... well, too late now. It's fine. Anyway, yeah, and the Wrecking Crew are holding the other VIP, so they lose 1 power, but gain 2 victory points. So that's them up to 4. So 10 playing for Asgard's favour as we go into round 3. At the top of round 3 it will be the Legion of the Lost going first, and I think Mephisto's going to have to try and get himself out of a spot of bother, because he is surrounded by a bunch of angry Asgardians. And lo, the devil did run. He moved in such a way that after his first movement he was able to pick up the fallen Terrigen canister. Didn't roll for it because he's immune to poison, so who cares. And then he just moved small again, and now safely has an ally who's pretty tough within range that he can use those devil tokens he's been sitting on to pass off damage. Jane Foster sprung into action and used her big spender, which as it turns out is fantastic. It's called Lightning Blast. It's range 4, I think. Either way, she targeted Gladiator with it, and there was a specific reason for that, because keep in mind Gladiator was hereish. Because before you start rolling against him, anyone within range 2 of him, if you roll, well sorry, after you roll, because you have to roll a wild, and she rolled 4. Everyone within range 2 of the target takes 2 damage. So Mephisto and the Wrecking Crew took 2 damage each from that mighty blast of lightning, and Gladiator himself took 4 damage, so he lost the confidence token off the back of that. She then targeted Mephisto with her basic attack, her builder, range 3, so he was within range. He has to spend on Meet My Associate at the point at which the target is declared, not before you see the roll. So he paid 1 devil token and 1 power to make Gladiator a target, which has moved him within range 1, and he took 2 more damage as a result of that, losing his other confidence token into the mix. So now he is really hurting. So Gladiator activated, now in a prime position to start dishing out damage. He did a Praetor punch into Thor, and oh boy did it spike. It spiked real well, and I forgot to mention, but off of the back of Lightning Blast he was also shocked, so he lost 1 die off of that, but it did not matter. He managed to do 5 damage to Thor, who only has 8 health on his flip side, so that's pretty bad for him. He then did his equivalent of a charge to go after Lady Sif. Oh, forgot to leave the damage there. He actually only did 1 damage to her, but that was precisely enough to daze her. She has dropped her canister, which has been placed right there, because he can't hold it, so he's just putting it further away from anyone who could grab it, because Thor isn't holding an objective currently, and has ended there. He did very well, but he's playing with fire, given, well actually I think Thor already basically had 10 power, so let's see what he can do. Now you see, this is why you don't make the God of Thunder angry. He immediately spent 4 on I would have words with thee. You place him within 1 of a target within range 3, is it? Or 4? 3. And he does, just a casual 10 dice physical attack into them. He went after Mephisto. Mephisto spent a devil token and 1 power to pass it off onto the Wrecking Crew, who then proceeded to take 6 damage and get dazed. He then spent another 4 power on I would have words with thee, because he had a lot of people he wanted to talk to that day, and he's very busy. So he went after Gladiator. He only managed to do 3 to Gladiator with I would have words with thee, but that was enough on top of the damage he's received as a result of protecting the devil, that he too was dazed and has dropped his canister, just out of line of sight, sorry, down there next to Lady Sif, who can hopefully pick it up next turn. So Thor had a bit of a turn there. Oh yeah, sorry, the reason he placed himself within 1 on that side of Gladiator was to pick up the canister that had been dropped there. And so he has picked it up and he was not poisoned by it. So yeah, pretty good turn. That also means that the Legion of the Lost are done for the round, and it is purely over to Loki. Loki has a canister, so he can't do anything with that canister, so I think he's just going to try and kill the devil. Well, there's something poetic about this. Loki activated and did mischief and magic, after positioning himself so that Mephisto was within range 3, and the devil has no one else to hide behind, so it was coming right at him, and he rolled a lot of skulls, which for most people would be really bad, but for Loki, this version of Loki, that's really good. So he rolled a bunch of skulls, had 4 damage coming through against Mephisto eventually, and that would have left him on 1 health, but unfortunately for the devil, his defense roll contained at least 1 skull. It was exactly 1 skull. So at the cost of 1 of his many power that Loki hasn't needed to spend really, he's doing, oh my, what a pity, again, to deal 1 damage to Mephisto, and that takes him off the table. The devil is defeated by the God of Mischief. So that takes us to the end of the round, and that was a lot of fighting there. Good grief. Well, the board's looking a lot emptier for one side, and despite it being at the end of turn 3, the game is actually going to end there, not because of one side hitting 16. For being exact, the Asgardians have 1 VIP for 2, and they have 3 canisters, which takes them to 15, meaning they're 1 away from winning. But even if they had the bestest round ever, the Legion of the Lost could not catch up at this point. They gained 0 that turn rather. Mephisto should have dropped his canister, forgot about that, so that's why it's there now. They weren't holding absolutely anything, so they stayed at 4. So they would have to take out absolutely everyone in the next round, and we've already rolled for who would have got priority. Would have been the Asgardians. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that, for instance, Gladiator would have got taken out, or the Wrecking Crew would have got taken out, but they wouldn't have needed to. All someone holding a canister would have needed to do would just be run away. Granted, it's only like 2 small moves, but still, even Thor could just go hide around the side of the building here. Sure, Gladiator could chase him, then the Wrecking Crew is not going to be able to take out 3 of them, and they only need to score 1 point from somewhere. So this is one of those situations where, yeah, he could play on, but it's clear that the winners are the Asgardians this time, so we are going to call it a little early there with the Asgardian win. So at the end of that match, I wouldn't necessarily say that it was Thor 2 doing most of the work, and well, he was a beat stick, which hasn't changed with his nerfs for the record. He has the same amount of health, 9 on his healthy side, 8 on his dazed side. It was Mighty Thor doing that lightning blast that certainly helped a lot. The new Loki is great for just meddling with dice rolls and just being a nuisance, which is what he's for, and Sif seems fine. But for the record, looked up what changes are coming to Thor. They're available digitally, but the card pack isn't out yet, as I said at the top of the video. So his basic Odinson's Ire is dropping from 7 dice to 6, and from range 3 to 2, which does seem quite harsh to me. Have at thee, which is his throw himself at an enemy, has been increased in cost from 3 to 4, which in turn makes it not worth it, at least to me. Why would you bother? There's better things to spend his power on than that. And Brothers in Arms, which I guess must be a tactics card, because that's not something on his card, has been banned. Oh, I guess that must be a card people were using to make him like really, really powerful. So yeah, the 2 main nerfs are not even to I would have words with thee. It's still at 4 power, it's still 10 dice, and that's the only thing he really did that did a significant amount of damage. But yeah, his basic attack has been nerfed into the ground way too harshly. One or other of those nerfs probably would have been fine. Either drop the number of dice he's getting or drop the range, but not both. That seems like somebody just haphazardly saying, yeah, do that. Like I would be genuinely curious how much testing actually went into that. And Brother in Arms, as I say, increasing it from a 3 cost to a 4 cost. It's a 4 damage throw with no damage to Thor from the throw because he's throwing himself. No one would pay 4 power for that. That's insane. Why would you bother? You might as well save up for I would have words with thee. It costs the same amount. Again, that just seems like a haphazard slap a bit of duct tape on it and call it good. That does not seem thought through. If anything, you should have kept it at the same cost and maybe said, oh, he counts as size 2 for this or something. You know, something like that. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you spend 4 on that when you can spend... I guess the reason is you can do that on top of an attack. But... 4 potential damage for 4 power isn't worth it unless you're absolutely desperate to get that move. But again, have at thee, or I would have words with thee, sorry, includes a move. It gets, or not even a move, it's a place within 1, which is really, really powerful, so I'd rather save the power for that. So yeah, those nerfs seem haphazard at best, not thought through or tested, very harsh, although he is obviously too powerful as is. But hey, so was Malekith back in the day, so at least now they're even on that regard. Poor Mephisto didn't have a good game of it. Did not expect Ulik to go down as harshly and as fast as he did, but he did actually manage to give Thor 2 quite the beating before he got taken down by just overwhelming strength. So yeah, that was a mistake, because once Ulik was gone, the devil had nobody to hide behind, so that's his whole thing. He needs to keep on bringing people in to take hits for him. And Gladiator didn't do too well that time. Did not have the dice in his favour. Didn't help that the poison was sapping one of his power at the top of 2 out of the 3 rounds as well. But either way, Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the Return to Crisis Protocol. We'll be back at some point in the future for more. If you do enjoy watching it, let us know that in the comments. Liking the video helps as well, sharing it around. If you can go above and beyond to support the channel, consider checking out the channel sponsor via the affiliate link, or pressing the thanks button, or becoming a channel member. You get to see videos early, including this one. So hello to channel members watching this early. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day everyone, and I will see you sometime for something else. Until then, ta-ta for now.